phrase 600, 66 in Hebrew is shesh, maya, shishim, shabim. When you study and interpret the ancient, the Paleo-Pictorial Hebrew, listen to what the number 666 actually means. Are you ready? I don't think you're ready. I wasn't ready. It is mind-blowing. Are you ready? Consume, destroy the temple, the body, God's dwelling. Consume, destroy the temple, the body, God's dwelling. I have almost no words to describe how unbelievably supernatural and miraculous the Hebrew language and God's word is. So 666, the mark of the beast that will go on the hand or the forehead, literally is spelled out in the pictures of the letters that create the words that create the sentence 666. Are you guys with me? If there was any doubt, that the you-know-what is the MOTV, because no other kind of mark, no stamp, no tattoo, there's nothing else that could consume and destroy the temple, God's temple, the abomination of desolation, other than what we already know, the sorcery pharmakia that has deceived the whole world. Consume, destroy the temple, the body, God's dwelling.
This COVID vaccine is like nothing we've seen before. Am I correct in that?
That is correct. Nothing. We have no experience with this at all. A nanoparticle is a tiny, tiny, tiny robot that collects your biometric data, your heart rate, your breathing, your relationships, whether you've had sex, what drugs you're on, where you're going, who are you going with, and sends that data up to the cloud. And then they want to use that data to, at the very best, sell you stuff, like know your every move so that they can send you emails to get whatever product. But at the very worst, this one about connecting you to cryptocurrency, so that we have a cashless society, facial recognition, the ability to control a whole population, and there are aspects of this that are very nefarious, which is that with 5G then rolled out, which is being rolled out in some places, that's 60 gigahertz, and that vibration, that radiation, can literally adversely affect the hemoglobin in our bodies, making it very hard to be oxygenated. And that looked like what was happening, by the way, in China at the beginning, and also New York City, where people would come in unable to, unable to get enough oxygen. And then they were put on respirators and killed that way, because that wasn't what was necessary.
This luciferase, why would they call it that?
Well, because Lucifer means light, and but we could get into the Luciferian agenda, but I would rather not. It's very scary and it's very dark, and this is probably not the place for it. But if you wanted to get into that, there are certainly resources available. I'm not real happy about the Bill and Melinda Gates patent 060606 in the book of Revelations. This is the mark of the beast. And according to those who have studied this kind of thing, there are many symbols that are associated with this agenda, including masking everyone so that we can't see each other's faces. And then in the UK now, no more than 6 people can get together at the same time. Why 6 people, 6 feet, a patent 666? I think that there's something else going on.
So it doesn't matter what is going on, the propaganda, everything that is going on. They want 7 billion people vaccinated. This whole COVID did not have to happen. COVID was made for the vaccine. COVID was made so that we can bring the vaccine, put this nanotechnology in our brain so that they can be able to connect every one of us to the Internet of Things. Watch Dr. Cruz's video, watch Charles Morgan's video, everything will come together. So yes, there's some technology in there. But this is the thing, it is not human technology, it's Luciferian technology. Have you heard about CRISPR, where they can splice gene? This thing happened in 2008. All this technology is so fast. They can cut your gene, splice it, attach more. They can edit a child in this womb. They can edit people. You understand what I'm saying? This stuff is demonic. The devil wants us to be human 2.0 so that we're not going to be human anymore. If you read in Revelation, when they talk about the mark of the beast, when you're not human anymore, you cannot be saved. So that is what this whole thing is about, Lucifer.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Stella Immanuel is with us. She has been such a fearless leader, a trailblazer at the beginning of this pandemic, calling out the lies of the mainstream media, calling out the intentional sabotage of known drugs and therapeutics that could stop people from dying from COVID. She was attacked for that. We had other doctors get attacked for that. We saw corrupt governors ban the use of hydroxychloroquine that saved lives. Well, that's where we were. Now we're at a new level of these vaccines coming out. I'm interested to hear Dr. Stella Immanuel's take on that. But you know, first, as I bring the good doctor in here, Dr. Immanuel, just talk about in general the journey for yourself in the last year. You probably never expected to be in a leadership role like you are in now, but yet here you are, one of the few and proud and strong truth tellers about the COVID pandemic, the therapeutics that were told we couldn't use that could have saved lives, and now, of course, the vaccine coming out. So just talk about your journey, the beginning of COVID, what you were thinking, what led you to that famous speech at the U.S. Capitol on the steps. How shocked were you when you found out that governments were banning the use of hydroxychloroquine, something we knew worked? Just talk about your story for the last year or so, Dr. Stella Immanuel. Thank you for joining us.
I'm really honored and excited to be here. I mean, I love Alex, and I've always loved his show. Listen, it's really been I would say it's been a crazy year, and it's just been something that I do believe that God actually prepared me for this. You know, I was in Houston running an urgent care clinic. By the time we got to DC, I was done. I was like, I cannot keep, I cannot even, I was done. I was ready to be the attack dog. The doctors were still trying to be nice, Miss Doctor. I was like, no, I'm not doing nice anymore.
But you noticed that it was your speech that day that got the most attention and was the most viral, powerful speech and video from that day was your speech.
Yes. The thing is this, right? We have also really been praying for the nation and praying for what's going on, because I'm a prayer warrior. So we have been praying, and I do believe that on that day, it was God. The whole world was caged in fear. The whole world, the globe was caged in this prison of fear, and we're all gonna die, and we're all gonna die. There was just fear. It was palpable. There were people that had been locked up in their homes for 3 months and had not come out of their home. So that day when I got there, it was just God that just hit it and said, you know what? If I knew that God was going to amplify my voice, because it was just God that decided, you know what? Let me break fear over the world. So when I spoke that, there's something broke in the spirit. All of a sudden, people were like, oh my God, we're not all going to die. There's hope. It is possible. There are possibilities.
That's amazing. God working through Dr. Stella Immanuel. We got a break here, but we'll be right back. Folks, tell your friends and family to tune in. This is amazing.
In May, a team of engineers at Columbia announced a new implantable medical microchip, so tiny it can be injected into a human body with a syringe.
Oh.
It's about the size of a single grain of salt.
Now, if you recall, yesterday I covered a story, and we kind of dated it just to provide context to it, how they announced that the Pentagon and other private companies, one called the BioCloud Controller, oh, that's not dystopian at all, are making subdermal implants, inert subdermal implants, not a microchip. And then how there was this conflict in the reporting of this new technology. Oh, it's for COVID. Oh, it's not for COVID. Oh, it has a sensor. Oh, it doesn't have a sensor. Oh, it's not a microchip. It's just, it's just a subdermal implant. All these little word games and lies, which is why you can't trust this stuff. Hey, if it's a new technology and it's an implant, it can, make the blind see, make the deaf hear, whatever, that's great. Help Alzheimer's, I'm all about technology. But when you're rolling it out and you're telling me that I need it and you're lying to me about it, well, yeah, naturally, I'm already a cynic and a skeptic, but now it's even worse. So see, I probably need 10 minutes to cover this, but so we covered that yesterday. Now, I want to flash back. I believe this story is from 2018. The computer didn't print the date, but I asked the crew to pull it up. I think this story is from 2018. Headline, Dystopia Watch. This is from Vice.com. Dystopia Watch, your employers want to microchip you. And so I think you get, you know, they talk about the pros and the cons, and there were some other stories at the time. And yes, we're rolling some of the videos from the time as well. Dystopia Watch, your employers want to microchip you. Remember, Bill Gates went on TV this year and said, no, we've never heard of microchips. There's no such thing as implantable microchips. So he lied about that. So this is Vice News calling it a dystopic thing to have microchips in humans. Yes, that was from 2018. Thank you, Kira. So Vice has now produced this video. So 2018, it's a dystopian thing. Microchips in humans. Bill Gates says it doesn't exist. Oh, it's not a microchip. It's a subdermal implant. Oh, it's for COVID. Oh, it's not for COVID. Well, now Vice has put out a 10-minute video promoting injectable microchips. Here is just a small sample of that.
In some areas of life, bigger is better. But when it comes to microchips, smallness is boss. In May, a team of engineers at Columbia announced a new implantable medical microchip, so tiny it can be injected into a human body with a syringe.
Oh.
It's about the size of a single grain of salt. Chips like this one could eventually be used to monitor, diagnose, or treat medical problems. But there's a twist. The Columbia team's work also collided with the world.
So that's good. Again, this is a 10-minute report from Vice. It's on YouTube. I forget when they put it out, but it's a newer video. So again, they say, no, there's no microchips, and oh, it's not for COVID, and Bill Gates says it doesn't even exist, even though they're admitting all of it. And it was 3 years ago where Vice, that produced that video, said that that was a dystopic thing. Oh, now it's great. Now it's great.
What else are they hiding in the vaccines? Dark field microscopy, COVID-19 mRNA vaccine. Is this what the fourth industrial revolution looks like? Dark field microscopy by Dr. David Nixon, drdavidnixon.com.
Welcome back. Dr. Shimon Yanovitz is an electrical engineer and independent researcher based in Israel. He's worked alongside Dr. Anna Mahelcha, who we recently spoke with on this program. Dr. Yanovitz has done extensive research into the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic. You've probably heard of that one. Officially, at least, it's the deadliest flu pandemic in history, claiming as many lives as 100 million worldwide. But Dr. Yanovitz has argued that the pandemic was actually caused by something else: bacterial injections meant to prevent meningitis. Dr. Yanovitz has also done a lot of research on the COVID-19 shots, and that's why he's here, because he says that he has seen the evidence of self-assembling nanostructures within them. He's also seen signs of these nanostructures appearing even in the blood of the unvaccinated. We have a lot of questions that we want to ask about that, and to that end, Dr. Yanovitz joins us now. Sir, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much, Stu, for having me.
So I've reviewed some of these slides that we're going to show to our audience. This is basically vindication for all of the previous slides that we have seen. It is your belief that what you're seeing here is self-assembling circuitry or nanostructures of sorts.
It's not a matter of belief, Stu. That's hard evidence that we have. And we can also see different kind of structures self-assembling. One could be perhaps described as electronic circuitry, and the other could be described as synthetic worms and ribbons and filaments that are obviously assembling inside of people's bodies, where that's not very good, is it?
No, it's not good at all. So have you seen these things moving, and is there anything that impacts their movement?
Well, when I first looked at the vials upon thawing, I could see the self-assembly actually moving under the microscope. Now, some of the more elaborate structures that we see later come from glass slides of vials that have been standing for a while and had the chance to develop further, and then these things are rather still. But I guess we have the knowledge that with the right temperature, which is body temperature, as opposed to room temperature when you look at under the microscope, they could be moving. And we have evidence that not only are they moving, they also go to the skin, where they could shed to other people upon skin contact and so on. This is not very good, Stu.
Dr. Yanovitz, you're an electrical engineer. What kind of circuits is it that we're looking at here? What is their function? What are they doing to the people that have received this inoculation?
Well, it's difficult to tell the exact nature of electronic circuit just by looking at it. However, we do have evidence of Bluetooth signals being detected from jabbed people in the form of MAC addresses. So we know that there is some kind of interaction between these circuits and electromagnetic radiation to be able to transmit this kind of signals.
And so where did you find these Bluetooth signals? How did you discover them?
Well, this is an ongoing work of many people around the world, not of mine particularly, although it's very easy to detect. All you need to do is enable this on your smartphone and step into a room full of jabbed people and just scan for Bluetooth devices, and you're sure to get a lot of interesting results. So many people all over the world have been replicating this.
There have been reports on Telegram of individuals who have gone to graveyards, to cemeteries, and have approached the more recent grave sites, and they are receiving a Bluetooth signal from the grave sites. Whereas if you go to people that were buried previous to this rollout of this bioweapon artificial intelligence injection, these parasites and self-assembling nanostructures and circuitry that are indisputably inside of these vials and now inside of the bodies of people, They don't emit anything because, of course, they were not inoculated with this particular injection. We have had reports on this program that these interact with 5G and that they communicate with other internet routers. Have you gone so far as to investigate the connection, what specifically these things will connect to?
Well, it's difficult to isolate, although if we had the equipment and the lab to do that, we could contemplate isolating these electronic structures and testing them. Unfortunately, they don't like us to have convenient access to the vials and so on. So we have to do all this in an underground sort of way. But my background and my familiarity with electromagnetic radiation and 5G in particular, and the fact that we have seen such unprecedented deployment of 5G during this scandemic sort of leads me to make a very educated guess that these things are meant to work together. And this is probably what we're seeing.
Unbelievable. Is there anything that you can think of that can be done to disable this circuitry that's now inside of the bodies of hundreds of millions, potentially billions of people?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. So these structures are not only potentially turning people into cyborgs, other structures are ailing and maybe killing people. And some of the researchers, myself and my colleagues, are unwell. So we are desperately looking for ways to kill these structures, and this is ongoing. Obviously, they were not, their desire was not to make these things easy to get rid of. So we are still looking into that.
Dr. Yanovitz, what do you mean that you're unwell, you and your colleagues? Why are you unwell?
Well, because when we look at our own blood, not all of us, but quite a few researchers, when we look at our own blood under the microscope, and I'm unjabbed, Stu, right?
Yeah.
So why do I find such nanotechnology structures in my own blood? And
So
obviously,
you're saying that just by merely being exposed to the substance that's inside of these vials, you have now been affected, and this self-assembling nanostructure circuitry type artificial intelligence is inside of you?
it probably happened before I started looking at the material from the vials. Probably there are two ways I can think of. One is encounter with jabbed people, and I have good reason to assume that this is shedding through skin contact. Another possible way to disseminate this technology would be, just spraying from the air in chemtrails or through the food and water supplies to you. So there are quite a few possibilities. But I think that we have also very concerning evidence that the structure and technology itself is shedding from people.
If you're a viewer of this program and you have not seen our recent interview with Karen Kingston, we suggest that you go to Rumble and look up the Stu Peters Network and find the most recent talk that I had with Karen Kingston, who exposed and proved with patents and other materials, always brings the receipts, that what we're seeing here in what this...
very wrong. So, Dr. Anna, you've been doing more research into the quantum field when it comes to nanotechnology, the fact that it's disappearing sometimes, that under the microscope, it's dependent on 5G waves, 4G waves. So talk to us about how all of this is going to merge and what else you found.
So this is really based on the work of David Nixon, who you've also interviewed, who's shown that these structures are assembling and disassembling. And there is science that states that some of this nanotechnology has what's called quantum cloaking devices, and that these are transistors on a level that is nanoscale, and they create something called a time crystal. What that means, it doesn't require external energy, and it can quantum compute. So it is able to have an enormous amount of ability of computations. And so it is similar to the human brain in that, for example, in the book Nano Brain, the researcher discussed that this can compute in 11 separate dimensions. So we are multidimensional beings. And the way Karen explained this is that this is a multi-level war. So we need to look at it from many different levels. So we can look at it from this aspect of nanotechnology, but then also we have to define, well, what is a divine human being, and acknowledge that it has a spirit. Science has a real problem with that because they want to keep spirituality and science separate. But in this case, Yuval Harari and the globalists are acknowledging that they're waging war against the soul and the spirit, and they specifically say that this is the last generation that will actually have such a thing, and that it's a thing of the past, and that they are endeavoring to create unconscious consumers. So then, looking at it from that context, what is the platform, the technological platform that can change the brain of a human being, meaning the processing of consciousness, which occurs in the microtubules in the brain? I've discussed this at your last show. And then really utilizing what we're seeing. So these are graphene carbon nanotubes with hydrogel that can mimic neurons and glial cells, meaning it can literally create brain-like tissue, programmable matter. And so if we look at that it is a sending and receiving device, it can be programmed externally, but it also can transmit your information. And so therefore, this is a hijacking also of human consciousness. And if you hijack the consciousness and the brain and the mind of a human being, you're affecting the soul, because there is a quantum program of who we are incarnated that says, hey, you are Maria and you're different than Karen and you have a soul purpose. And that's basically here under attack, and we have to look at it from all of these different levels. And the problem is that a lot of clinicians are unwilling to look at it from the broader context, but then you do not understand what is going on.
Absolutely. Okay, you're absolutely right, Dr. Anna, and this is exactly why we keep exploring. This is why we keep digging. You know, when Karen first came on and showed us these.
Le voy a hacer dos últimas preguntas. La primera de todas es que aquí el señor Luis de Benito dijo que había hecho un experimento donde la gente vacunada salía detectada como una especie de IP en los teléfonos chinos. Esa pregunta, esa marca que tiene cada uno, ¿puede asemejarse a lo que hablaba San Juan en el Apocalipsis de la famosa marca de la bestia? Y luego la última pregunta sería, ¿este grafeno podría condicionar el comportamiento de la gente? ¿Podría que la gente de alguna forma, con un elemento exterior, le podría condicionar su libre albedrío?
Sí, bueno, la pregunta es escatológica, pero si por marca de la bestia entendemos un sistema que tiene que estar inserto dentro del cuerpo humano, que te permita comprar y vender, este sistema lo permite perfectamente, está descrito en literatura, ¿no? Como si uno llevara una tarjeta de crédito inserta dentro del cuerpo, pero no es un chip ni un nanochip, son miles de sensores que mandan información a nanorouters y los nanorouters la mandan afuera al gateway de salida, que sería el móvil. Entonces, por ahí sí se asemeja al concepto de lo que se llama la marca de la bestia. También en cuanto al control neuronal, marca de la bestia se supone que conlleva la pérdida de la voluntad, del libre albedrío. Y estas redes, el peligro que tienen es ese, que se pueden controlar desde fuera las conexiones, las sinapsis neuronales y influir sobre el placer, el dolor, la motivación, la voluntad en suma, con lo cual depende del uso que le dé el servidor externo, quien lo controle, sí pueden hurtar el libre albedrío a las personas. Pues ahí está la gravedad de que estos sistemas pues, se implanten o no, pues no se estudie bien ni se comunique tanto la toxicidad como estas capacidades que tienen de hacerle perder la voluntad a la gente. Y bueno, esto pues, habría que ver si es marca la bestia o no, yo ahí no entro, yo soy científico, habría que ver en qué tiempo estamos.
Somehow naively I've gone astray, not knowing the heart I've broken, not knowing the wound I've made with every sin I slay, not knowing the heart I break, not seeing the pain in your eyes. Oh, it's a wound of a lover. I've cheated on love, I've gone astray with every word and compromised, groping in the dark like the prodigal son I am. 'Cause I remember your first love. I remember when you gave all your heart to me, when I had all of your affection. I remember I did not know you felt this way about me. I did not see that sin was such a big thing. It was a list of do's and don'ts. Exterior, I'm a whitewashed tomb, concerned about the image I portray. Did not know these sins were a sword in your side, nails in your hands, a thorn on your brow. I did not know you were a husband. I thought you were a master, but now you are a she. You are the one who married me. Everything I do for you, my love. Oh, sweet my love. Everything I do for you, my love, my love. Everything I do for you, my love. I open my heart over and over and over and over and over again to you. Will you have me again? 'Cause I will have you again. Oh, I will have you. Never seen love like this before. Never, and you keep coming around, knocking on my door. I've never seen this love before. A little offense, a little hurt that comes my way. My heart, it's closed. too for money and wine. Still you keep loving me, I don't understand. Don't understand this love. Won't you sing it again? And all that I do for you, my love. My heart is open. All that I do for you, my love. My heart is open to you. All that I do for you, my love. My heart is open to you. All that I do for you, my love. My heart is forever open. Do you remember my name? Do you remember my name? It's sort of cloudy and dark, I can't see it. It's shining in the dark, I can almost see it, believe it, but I'm so down, I'm so blind with shame, this condemnation. Remember my name, say my name, say my name, say my name, remember me. You're the God of 77, enduring mercy. My heart is breaking, I'm so ashamed, I've done it over and over again. Say my name, you remember how sweet it was to love me, how sweet it was to know me. But I left you for raising cakes, I left you for food and water, I left you for nothing. So I will return to my first love, for it was better for me there. I will return to my first love. Oh, I will return to my first love. It was better there. Oh, I will return to my first love. Oh, jealous, jealousy, come lay hold of me. Jealous, jealousy, come lay hold of me. If you'll return is a love that will never let you go. Mine is a love that will never let you go.
Even if I try, and I've tried so many times, but your love is a love that won't let me go. Even if I try. It's written on the palm of your hand. It's written on your heart. Oh, and your name is jealous. Yes, our God is all-consuming fire. Fire is desire. For God is love, and love's a flame, a fire taking over, taking over. For God is love, love is fire, a burning like desire, it's burning like desire, and God is love. Jealous is his name, a jealous jealousy. He's an all-consuming fire, and who can dwell with everlasting burnings? And who can dwell with everlasting
For you, my love,
There's no greater love.
all that I do for you, my love, my love.
There's no greater love.
All that I do for you, my love, my love.
There's no greater love.
All that I do for you, my love, my love.
There's no greater love.
All that I do for you, my love. I want you, I want you.
You're going to hear a new, a unique, and I believe accurate revelation explaining the mark of the beast. I can tell you, I have never heard this before.
It's supernatural.
Hello, Sid Roth here with L.A. Marzulli. And L.A., I am so intrigued with these people that are being interviewed that say they've been abducted. Tell me about this doctor you spoke to, Dr. Lear, who started out as a skeptic of this whole phenomena. He's a surgeon.
Yes.
Tell me about him.
Well, Lear was asked by a friend to go in and look at this patient who claimed to have some sort of a implant or whatever, something under his skin. And, you know, first Lear just figured it was probably a wire or maybe a BB from childhood accident or something. But when he found out that the person was claiming to have been abducted by so-called aliens, he did an about-face and walked out of the room. Didn't want anything to do with this stuff. And in some ways, who could blame him? So he goes in reluctantly. He's sort of persuaded to come back and at least just look at the thing. Looks at the x-rays. Yes, there seems to be something there. So he decides to operate. He goes in. And to his absolute astonishment, what he discovers is very small metallic implant. But over this implant, and this is obviously a magnification, I'll use my fist, is a secretion, a membrane of some sort. And he takes his scalpel and he tries to cut this membrane and he can't cut it. He then takes a forceps and goes in and yanks this thing out. And it comes out sometimes, he's done 16 of these things since, but it comes out sometimes in 2 or 3 pieces. What he's discovered is when you take these things out and you put them in a petri dish of the patient's blood, and you just let them, and the pieces are, let's say, separated by a half an inch or an inch, come back 24, 40 hours later, the pieces have tried to assemble themselves. How is that possible? These implants are giving out a clock speed of a frequency, which we believe is a sawtooth, which means it's a computer wave. It's a clock speed at 300 gigahertz, which is 100 times faster than the fastest computer we have on the planet. Inside these things are carbon nanotubes not found in nature. And other compartments, we have no idea what they're doing. But I asked Lear, I said, in your professional opinion, what do you think this implant is? And in sort of a gruff, and I'll do my best imitation, he goes, well, it's changing the person's DNA. But that's what he believes. And that
Did you hear that? It's literally going to change a person's DNA. This sounds way beyond robots and way beyond any science fiction things I've ever seen. He has an understanding of the mark of the beast I have never heard before, and it rings true. I think it's historic what you're going to share. Will you do that right now?
I'd love to. Thank you for allowing me to do this. We see in Matthew 24, Yeshua states something, as in the days of Noah, so it will be when the Son of Man returns. Alluded to that before. What differentiates those days are the presence of the fallen angels. But there's also some other dynamics in that passage which we overlook. One of them in particular is the length of lifespan. 5, 6, 7, 900 years old people lived, and I believe that's literal. They lived to 900 years or older, okay? Hold that thought, then jump over to the book of Revelation. It says, and we all get this one, that anyone who takes this mark will not be able to buy, sell, or trade. That's an easy one, right? But then we find out that anyone who takes this mark, whatever this thing is, grievous sores will appear over the body. Then we find out in the book of Revelation also, anyone who takes the mark is immediately thrown into the lake of fire. There's no grace, there's no mercy. It's just, you've got the mark, bam, you're in a lake of fire. Not my words, those are the words of Yeshua, and those are in the book of Revelation. A little further on we read something which is not necessarily tied into the mark of the beast, but here's the deal. It says that in those days, the days of the mark, men and women will seek death and not find it. How can that possibly be? I've held the chip from Dr. Lear in my hand. I've asked him point blank, what is this thing doing? It's changing the DNA. This thing, and this is how they're going to do it.
This is the chip that people that go into flying saucers have the surgery.
These are the prototypes.
By the way, did this doctor find that these people were loonies?
No, not at all. All these people that have been abducted, most of them, I would say well over 90%, do not want any notoriety. In fact, they seek anonymity. And when they scan this thing, not only will have its medical records, but it will change and correct your DNA. That's what we'll be told.
So in other words, you'll live longer,
You'll live to 500 years disease-free.
Woo.
All this.
So who's going to say no? Only someone that knows the Lord.
Exactly.
Only. And you can see why they'd be enemies of the,
Absolutely.
of the
We'd
world.
be looked at as Neanderthals. How can you possibly believe in this ridiculous mythos of a Judeo-Christian God? Why not just take this mark and live disease-free for 500 years? It sounds like a great deal. And I've held it in my hand, and this is what I think it's coming, and it's the only thing which fulfills all that criteria which we just spoke about that's found in the book of Revelation.
Yeah, sure. Been in the mortality business for a long time, practiced international law around the world, including living and working in 2 communist countries and undoing the Soviet model economy. I understand who the players are in this genocide. I've done business with all of them, including the WHO. And when the Secretary of Defense illegally mandated the shots, he doesn't have the power to do that. I realized what this was all about. And I filed suit against them and raised a lot of issues, including the fact that everybody that's getting these shots are number one, exploratory laboratory animals, right? They're just test beds. And then number 2, if you got the shots, the odds are, according to U.S. law, that you are owned by the patent holders. You're a new species called Homo borgenesis, and you are owned. That's the nature of what our case says today. That has resulted in the suspension of our Constitution. It's already happened. The next one is coming. In that statute, you will see that Marburg is already identified. You will note that the PrEP Act has a Marburg provision that allows for additional spending when invoked. The Health and Human Services has already invoked the Marburg provision, meaning they've already parted ways with money and spent it under the HHS enabling statute to build quarantine camps, amongst other things, throughout the United States. We interrupted two, one of which was in Cochise County, Arizona, where they were going to build a $1.9 million facility that houses the now merged 4 branches under HHS. The judiciary, law enforcement, corrections, and public health are now all one and the same, and they're all housed in the same facility. So all of these quarantine centers are there. We understand that there could have been a Marburg release that Dr. Chambers will get into. We think that one has already happened. We know that Marburg is not particularly contagious, but it has an extraordinarily high rate of fatality, and we know the mechanism by which this will be released, and that is inside of these shots that people already received, inside the lipid nanoparticles, the hydrogel, there exists pathogens inside of the particles that have not yet opened. Those pathogens are chimeric. They include E. coli Marburg, Ebola staphylococcus, and brewer's yeast, amongst others. We know that upon the broadcast from the 5G system that is now employed across the United States, and the world for that matter, when they broadcast an 18 gigahertz signal for 1 minute, 3 different times as a pulse, it will cause those lipid nanoparticles to swell and release these pathogenic contents, thereby causing a Marburg epidemic that they've already spent the money on. It's already done, right? The Marburg epidemic, for purposes of the law, has happened, and now we just need the actual disaster to happen. And there's actually worse parts to it than that, including the 1p36 gene deletion that effectively will turn those poor people into zombies. As odd as that sounds, our government's preparing for that.
But the FEMA have...
Okay, so last application that we're going to talk about is using nanobots to make vaccines. So vaccines are important for obvious reasons, mainly protecting us from infectious diseases, so keeping us all healthy. The challenge with vaccines is they actually take a long time to develop. So vaccine development can take many, 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 many years. And also vaccines have side effects, as we all know. So we think that the nanobots would be perfect for this application because we can make these synthetic components in a tube, and it can be done fairly quickly. So the question is, can we use these to make vaccines faster and safer? Some of the other advantages are that we know we can kind of engineer the nanobot to essentially resemble a microbe. We know that they can enhance the immune response, and I'll talk about that. And we know that they're safe and well tolerated in animals. And this is actually a pretty critical point, because if we're talking about ultimately making something that can go into humans, we need to understand the safety profile of that. And so we need to start in animals. So one of the first questions that we ask when we start these types of studies is what actually happens to these nanobots inside of an animal? Where do they go? And that's important to understand because for a variety of applications, you may want the nanobot to go to the spleen. You may want it to go somewhere else. So understanding how it's distributed in the body is very important. So the way we do this is we take nanobots and we fluorescently label them. We inject mice and we use a fluorescent imager to look for that fluorescent signal in the animal. So in this particular case, I'm going to show you data where we injected mice in the stomach, which is what we call intraperitoneal. Okay? And then 4 hours later, we ask the question, where do we see that fluorescent signal? And so in this particular case, what you're looking at here is the animal on the right in these images is the animal that received the fluorescently labeled nanobot. And the animal on the left is an animal that received just a salt solution, which is what we call a saline control. So you would not expect that animal to have any fluorescent signal. And what you can see is that that signal is localized in very specific places. So in the first image where the animal is laying on its stomach, you can see a very, very bright signal, kind of this yellowish, whitish signal where the bladder is. If we turn the animal on its side, you can see that same very bright white, orangish signal in the back, up a little bit higher, that's the kidney. And then if you flip the animal on its back, you can see both kidneys. So what this tells you is that when you inject this fluorescent nanobot intraperitoneal or into the stomach, a lot of it is going to be cleared through the kidneys. It's going to be cleared very rapidly, and ultimately the animal will pee it out, so you can see it in the urine. So if we take this image on the right, and we now say, let's take the organs out of this animal and let's see what those organs look like. We can see, again, the kidney has the highest signal, which is what we would expect. It's what we saw in the whole animal. The liver also has a pretty high signal. We see some fluorescence in the spleen and very little in the lung. So what this means is, again, that if you inject these animals in the stomach with these fluorescent nanobots, most of that will be cleared out of the kidney and liver. Now, the question is, what happens if you actually give the animals this fluorescent nanobot a different way? So, for example, if you give it in the nose, does it go to the same places in the body? So many of you have probably had the flu mist vaccine, which is just a nasal mist up your nose. We kind of recapitulate this in mice. So mice naturally are nose breathers. They don't breathe out of their mouth. So if you just put some liquid on the nostril, they'll just breathe it in. So it simulates how you get the flu mist, essentially. So if we administer these fluorescent nanobots intranasally, as we call it, and we compare that with what we saw when we gave it intraperitoneal in the stomach, we see a very different distribution profile. So in this case, if we compare on the right side the intraperitoneal, which we saw already, with the intranasal, you can see that the signal in the kidney is pretty low. And that's very different from what we saw when we gave it in the stomach. It's low in the liver and it's low in the spleen, but it's very, very high in the lung. So what that tells us is the way that these nanoparticles, these nanobots, are distributed in the body is very much dependent on how you administer them. So it's different if you give the animal the fluorescent nanobot in the stomach versus the nose versus the muscle versus under the skin. That profile is going to look different. So that's something that we'd like to keep in mind when we're thinking about ways that we can use these. So one of the other things that's very important to understand is whether or not these nanobots are toxic. Okay? I'm not going to show you any of that data, but we've done a lot of studies to demonstrate that these particles, these nanobots, are not toxic to the mice. The mice tolerate them very well. So two important things. Where do they go in the body, and are they toxic or not? Okay, so how do we use these for vaccines? So the first thing that you need to do if you want to develop a vaccine is you need to have a target microorganism in mind. So what are you trying to protect against? If you're trying to protect against influenza, then you need to have, obviously, the virus, and you need to identify a protein from that virus. So in this case, you identify the microorganism, you isolate and express a protein, and then you have to do something else. You have to actually add what we call an immune-stimulating molecule. And the reason you have to do that is because proteins by themselves are not very immunostimulatory, okay? So adding that immune-stimulating molecule is really going to ramp up your body's immune response to that protein that you want the response directed against. So now you have your isolated protein, you have your immune-stimulating molecules. You can put these into the NLP to make your vaccine nanobot. Okay, so that nanobot has all of the constituents you need. It's got your protein, your immune-stimulating molecule, and now you're ready to vaccinate your mice. So we do that a variety of ways. We vaccinate our mice mainly intranasally, but we've done a lot of different routes in the stomach, in the muscle. So it just depends on what kind of a response you're trying to elicit. And then over time, you can sample this animal and you can start to ask questions about how the immune response looks to this vaccination. So how's the animal responding? So how do we do that? So again, after vaccination, we let some time pass, and we can actually take blood from these animals. Okay, so we sample their blood various times after we vaccinate them. And what are we looking for when we do that? Well, when we take blood, we're actually looking for the presence of molecules called antibodies. Okay? So this is one way that we can look at the immune response to our vaccination. Ultimately, the best test that we can do is to take this vaccinated animal, infect it with the microorganism that we're trying to protect against, and then ask the question, does that animal survive? Does it get sick? And so that's ultimately what these types of experiments look like, and is really what's needed to get these nanobots from, the bench top to people, to us, to actually use and be functional.
Prophetic dream that God sent me back in 2015. So in this dream, I'm strapped down to a chair. I remember I was in a very dark, cold room, and I remember there was this light over me dangling, as it reminded me of like an interrogation room almost. And I had no idea where I was. and I just felt this dark, evil presence in the room with me. And there's these government personnel standing around me, and their eyes were very demonic looking, reptilian almost. And they had masks over their face. So they were trying to stick me with something, and I could not see what they were trying to stick me with at first. And I look over closer, and I could see a syringe, a needle with a strand of glowing DNA inside of it. And I was being told by the Holy Spirit that this was the future mark of the beast.
The fallen ones are very clever. Their master is like a lion, walking about the earth, seeking whom he can devour. And yet my pastors are not speaking out. They are like cowards, hiding in a corner, preaching feel-good messages of comfort, while the human race is under its greatest assault of all time. How will you fare when you stand before your Creator, dearest ones? Have you brought everything to me in prayer? Have you discussed with your Heavenly Father what you should do during these unprecedented times? Only through following my Holy Spirit will you be led to green pastures. The mark of the beast is now here. It comes in many forms. It will ultimately come in the form of a patch, which will be affixed to your skin. Its venom will change your DNA forever. You will be hardwired to the beast computer system, and you will become the property of the beast. Your thoughts completely scrambled, only to be reorganized and ordered by the beast himself. You will become his possession and his alone. I will not fight for those who have willingly opposed me and have taken the mark of the beast. Do you not know who has made you? It is I, your heavenly Father. I am the one who fashioned you with my own hands, and I will not allow the enemy to have reign on this planet for very long.
Good evening, it's Jerry Tony. Boy, I just can't help myself. You know what? I get into the book of Revelation, and then I go to the Greek translation of every verse in chapter 13, and I begin to see some things, and then I begin to see a picture that was quite amazing. Earlier today, I thought, well, I'm going to look at the number 19. 19. The number 19 in Hebrew means divine order, judgment, truth revealed or concealed. But I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to get deep into that. I want to get into something else. I want to get into Revelation 13, and I'm going to look at verse 3. By the way, did you know that the beast will also have the mark? Think about that. Okay, if you really study chapter 13 in the Greek, you're going to get a picture that I'm about to show you. Okay, let's go to verse 3, and I'm not going to do the whole chapter for sake of time. I'm going to try to keep this short. I only have a few pages of notes, but I want to get this out there. Revelation 13:3, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. Wounded in the Greek is plagues or plague, or in the Greek it's pronounced plague, a wound made by a sword stroke, or now tormenting, now destroying the bodies of men, sent by God as a punishment, a calamity. I find that interesting. Now, stay with me a second, because this gets really, really deep. Revelation 13:14, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had a wound by a sword and did live. Sword in the Greek, a short sword or a dagger. Wound by a sword. He had a plague by a small dagger. Plague. A contagious bacterial disease characterized by fever and delirium, typically with the formation of bubonic plague, sometimes infection in the lungs, bubonic plague or pneumonic plague, same as pneumonia, an outbreak of plague, a dagger, a sharp-pointed knife for stabbing, a needle, a hollow metal tube with a pointed tip used for sticking or stabbing. The beast's wound was a plague administered by a small dagger. The beast also had the mark, the plague. Seems as though it was more of an administered disease. Revelation 13, verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. The word sword in this scripture is also dagger. I would have to say that the beast received the plague by a sharp-pointed dagger, and the world was astonished that he survived from the wound or the plague. Revelation 13, verse 16, is he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he had the mark or the name of the beast and the number of his name. This is the knowledge of God that God is giving us, even though it has been in our face all this time. We have learned that the mark of the beast is done with a sharp stick, instrument, dagger. That wound means plague. We learn from the Greek that not only a mark by a sharp stick or instrument, but it is a graven image or a mark of death. Something in the people who have taken the mark are marked to die. In order to find sharp stick or stake, you'll have to go to the root Greek word charay, which is Charax, which is translated into sharp stick, maybe even dagger, that the plague or the wound is administered with. When you use the knowledge that God has given us, it is also defined, let me go back up. Then to find the word hand, go to the Greek word chair, Cheir. When we use the knowledge God has given us, it is also defined as hand, arm, or forefinger, or the instrument with which you use to make your living. This word used in context, he put the ring on her hand, when actually he put the ring on her finger. But the word chair can also mean the whole arm of which you earn your living with. You need to understand that. Now let's look at the word forehead. Remember, these words have always been in our face. They've been in the Greek and they're in the Bible. Some of us are just now taking the time to study exactly what the Greek word means. The Greek word for forehead is metopon, which means the space between and behind the eyes, maybe you would put a swab there to do a test, whatever. The word metapon comes from the Greek word meta. And I found this so interesting. I spoke of this once before. Meta is where data is stored. Do we store data in our brain? We must understand that when the word forehead is used, it means the area behind the eyes where our data is stored, behind, in the frontal lobe. Many didn't see some of the videos that I did, so I thought I'd put out this short video tonight and just kind of give you some more understanding that even the beast will have a deadly plague administered by a sharp-pointed instrument like a dagger or some such device like a stake, the mark. This is Jerry Tony. It's time to give your life to Jesus Christ. We're at the very, very end of all of this. This is all coming to a close. Even the unsaved are beginning to ask questions as to why all of this is taking place. The New World Order has taken its position. Yes. We're there. We're at the door. Titus 2, 11, 12, and 13. For the grace of God has appeared unto all men, teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present day, looking for that blessed hope and appearing of our great God and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'm going to have to say that I'm looking at a high possibility of Feast of Trumpets this year. What does this summer that is nigh have to bring just before Feast of Trumpets? Oh, I'm going to tell you, it's getting exciting for those of us who are in prophecy students and watch prophecy and who dig deeper. It's very exciting to see these things unfold, for our redemption draweth nigh. Thank you. Have a good evening. Love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
All of a sudden you stop craving it at night because you lose them. It's amazing. Parasitic mind control. Now keep that in mind when we start transitioning into the mark of the beast talk. Okay? Revelation 13:16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand. I think I put that there twice, didn't I? Here is, just make sure you got that. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, 666. And we covered that at some length in the previous sessions with regard to Nimrod and all the various ways he's known by 666. Revelation 9:5. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months, and their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days men shall seek death, and death shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. Everybody talks about buying and selling. The mark of the beast, you're not going to be able to buy and sell. Well, that's true, but what about this part, where people are begging for death, but death flees from them? They have essentially purchased a counterfeit immortality apart from Christ. That is why they are cast alive into the lake of fire. They have genetically modified themselves such that they are no longer redeemable after that, and the only solution is to take them alive and put them in the lake of fire. Okay, everybody talks about the buying and selling, but they're missing a big part of the component right here. Revelation 19:20, and the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, that which with which he had deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. Those both were cast alive into the lake burning with brimstone. Now, back in the 90s, 80s, whatnot, and barcodes, everybody was on the barcode kick. I was too, preaching, that's the mark of the beast, the barcode. You know, because you got the two long skinny lines there is the 6 in the barcode. And you notice on the barcode it has two long skinny lines at both ends and one set in the middle. So everybody's like, see, 666 with an identifier in the middle, it's the mark of the beast, barcode! Right? Then later everybody started talking in the more recent times about the microchip. You know, now everybody thinks it's the microchip. Well, it may be a combination of all of those things, but I really think it's in here. And it's in the syringe. I think we're dealing with something that has to do at the genetic level with DNA. And my personal opinion is, how do we, what purchased our salvation? The blood of Yeshua. Doesn't it make sense that the counterfeit of that would be perhaps the blood of the Antichrist? If we have our salvation through the blood of Jesus Christ, it makes sense that he's going to offer a counterfeit with his blood. Right? Now, if my theory is true concerning Nimrod, he's a 5,000-year-old dead guy that's resurrected. He's Frankenstein. Taking some of his blood and putting it in you, not a good idea. How could that happen? Well, Dr. Thomas Horn and others speculate on this, how something like this might happen with regard to a pandemic. Again, in true Hegelian style, Hegelian dialectic is where you cause a problem which causes a reaction that you just so happen to have the solution for, already ready to go, right? So, okay, just imagine this. Whoever they are, they're responsible for everything, right? Release a really bad flu pandemic of some sort. Well, imagine this. If you don't get the shot that they've got all ready to go for you, no shot or cure means, well, you don't have a job. Somebody mentioned last night their job requires them to take the flu shot. And if they don't get the flu shot, they lose their job. So we're already seeing kind of a microcosm of that happening right now, a test. Got to take the shot. You can't be a teacher in school, or you can't work at CVS or whatever. You got to take the shot. So they're already making it mandatory for some people. So we've got a little miniature test going on with that. If you don't take it, there's no cure, no job, you end up being quarantined. Oh, you don't want to take the shot? You don't want to take what really I believe is going to be the mark of the beast? Well, fine, you're going to have to be quarantined. Bring you over here. Well, that means you're not going to have any money, which means you won't be able to buy or sell. That seems to be a good explanation to me to explain why they can't buy or sell, but also explain why they beg for death, but death flees from them. Because they can't die, right? So that's if you don't take the shot, you end up with no job, quarantine, no flu, or no food, no buying or selling. But if you do take the shot, well, you have some interesting side effects. It's like those commercials, where you always see the drug that they're offering. Side effects may include drowsiness, blah, 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 Take the shot. Side effects may include counterfeit immortality, not redeemable, and cast alive into the lake of fire. Ask your doctor if it's right for you. All right, I'm joking about it, but it's serious. That's some serious business right there. And there's going to come a time, especially if we're going through this thing, where some tough decisions may have to be made. When you're looking at your kid that's got this pandemic that they released, and they've got this cure over there, but you heard this stuff, and the Holy Spirit's telling you, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Don't inject your kid with the mark of the beast. We're going to have to work on that strong faith thing and believe in God and trusting in him. Seriously, I mean, it's just going to get pretty scary in the days ahead. This is, I believe, the formula for avoiding the corrupt.
Hi. Today I want to talk to you about the delivery system of the mark of the beast. This mark of the beast will be delivered to every single person on the face of the earth. And it will not stop being delivered until every single person is marked. There will be no one that escapes, except for the children of God. The elect will escape, but nobody else will. And Satan knows this, so he's got it all planned out, and it's got to come to us in stages. He can't throw it at us at once. So this is how it's going to play out, and I'm telling you this so that you're going to be prepared and warned, and then I'm going to give you a little information of how are you going to get through it, how to behave so that you can get through it. So before the first stage of the mark of the beast delivery could even start, there had to be a period of grooming. He's groomed us for a year. And how did he do that? By creating fear of a disease. So everyone's walking around in fear that they're going to die, that they're going to get this disease and die. those. He made us wear those. Distancing. Having our temperatures taken to get into a place, so we're used to getting scanned before we can enter a place of business or work. Loss of jobs, loss of some freedom, loss of some businesses, so that he's given us just a little taste. Look how bad this is. So after these people are primed and ready, they're sick of it. When he puts out the first stage of the distribution of the mark of the beast, people go running to him to take it. They can't wait for his mark. And they don't have any questions either. There's even one that came out and you open it up to see the ingredients and there's not one thing written. Not one thing written. And they don't care. They're just like, put it in me. I want it. I want the mark. I'm just going to trust you, blindly trust you, because I'm sick of my life and I believe you're going to save me. So they believe it's going to actually save them from everything that they just went through. But it actually destroys them. But one, it destroys their soul. They're not going to spend eternity with God and Jesus Christ. So they've already lost the most important thing that they ever possessed, or ever even had the opportunity to possess. And then many of them got sick. Many of them died. Many more are disabled and on medication now for the rest of their life. But they can't see it for some reason. I don't know why they can't see it. They think it's...
Hello, LifeSite friends. Jim Hale with you. And we have today a very important woman for you to meet. In fact, this may be one of the most important developments that we have seen in the last year and a half throughout the COVID ordeal and the vaccine battles, all the misinformation that we've heard from Big Pharma, from the government, from the media. Well, a young lady in Kansas has stepped forward. She was a Pfizer employee for 10 years, and recently she went to Project Veritas, exposing some of the emails that came right from Pfizer executives and Pfizer employees who were talking about how to talk to the public about the Pfizer vaccine, which is derived from aborted fetal stem cells. And we have her with us right now. Her name is Melissa Strickler. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us today here on LifeSite. You are a very courageous young woman. And I just wanted to ask you about that, Melissa. What was it that compelled you to want to come forward?
Well, honestly, I mean, I stumbled across the information by accident, but I would rather say a miracle because I'm not computer smart. And when I found the information, I thought, the Lord wanted me to show it to my family to convince them not to get it and things like that. Then I found out by presenting them with this, they had been lying to me and already got it. Well, maybe not lying, but not telling me. And so then I was like, well, why did I find this information? Then what am I supposed to do? And I told a couple of friends who had previously worked at Pfizer what I'd found, and they referred me to Project Veritas. And I prayed about it quite a bit to decide what to do. And it's like God just kept giving me the right verses, kind of pointing me down the path of what to do. And Project Veritas reached out to me almost instantly after getting a hold of them, which I took as a sign to go with them. And they also had a whistleblower shortly before me named Jody, who she whistleblew against her hospital. And she said she fears God and not man, what they can do to us. And so I was like, well, if I feel that way, why aren't I doing anything about it? And it's important information for the world to know, especially because so many people were getting denied their religious exemptions under false things.
Right, and that's what this is all about, Melissa, because what Pfizer's messaging has been is being very evasive about the truth about this vaccine being derived from aborted babies is what's going on here, right?
Well, they're just simply being deceitful. I mean, they could end the conspiracy theories. They could correct the fact checkers on social media, and they remain silent because they know if they do say, yeah, we did use fetal cell lines in the development of this, they know that they're not able to deny the religious exemptions. And so I think that's what it's about. I mean, it's wrong to, in my opinion, to benefit from an abortion. Just my opinion. I don't think God would want us, doing those things, but it's even more than that. I mean, it goes so deeper than that as to public deceit, and they're trying to get it to children. It's just ridiculous.
Well, let's talk about some of these emails that you exposed, starting with Vanessa Gelman, who is the Pfizer Senior Director of Worldwide Research. And this is what she had to say. From the perspective of corporate affairs, we want to avoid having the information on fetal cells floating out there. The risk of communicating this right now outweighs any potential benefit we could see, particularly with general members of the public who may take this information and use it in ways we may not want out there. Wow. What was your reaction when you saw this?
Well, these were the first things I had stumbled upon in the database, and it made me sick to my stomach because I'm like, if they're going to lie about something like this, what else? Because I had been in contact with the company, asking questions because I'd hear a conspiracy theory and I'd email them and they'd shut it down. I never asked about the fetal cell lines just because, I don't know, it never stumbled across my lap to ask that, I guess. But I did ask about other things, and I knew they were being deceitful in their answers, and that just kind of led me down the rabbit hole of why.
Yes, and then Gelman went on to say in another email, we've been trying as much as possible to not mention the fetal cell lines. And let's talk about this gentleman, Philip Dormitzer, Pfizer Chief Scientific Officer. Now, these aren't a bunch of underlings we're talking about. These are important people at Pfizer here. And he talks about, tell us first of all, he mentions HEK 293T. What does that mean, Melissa?
So it's actually like one of the things that if the public knew, they definitely would care. They're human embryonic kidney cells. So in the 70s, there was an aborted fetus from an unknown origin, and they noticed that its cells never stopped replicating, unlike normal cells, which, die. And so they just saw, their claim is they saw a cost benefit that why keep having to get these fetuses and all of these things when we can use these immortal cell lines that never die. And what they use them for is to see how the vaccine or what they're working on will affect our cells. Some things do include those cells. I'm not 100% sure if they're in this final vaccine or not, but how can we trust them if they say they aren't? So they're basically cancerous cells from an aborted fetus that they use to test.
That's fascinating. It's so helpful.
It's very demonic. Everything that they're telling people to do 100% goes against logic and all science. It'll only make you sicker and damage you psychologically. It is only for a symbolism of slavery, of submission and oppression. It's dehumanizing. It separates people. And actually, Fauci said that. He said it's really symbolic that they do not work. People need to wake up. Stop taking the symbol on of being a slave. It is nothing good. It is nothing that is healthy for you. And especially on these poor children, we need to protect them at all costs. This is so imperative that we do this. People need to really wake up to what's happening. They can't put their head in the sand anymore, because right now is our opportunity to stop something so horrible from happening. Nobody's forced anyone to do anything at this point. This has just been talk and people comply out of fear. At some point, they'll go so far as they could use force, but right now, no. It's very demonic. That's a symbolism. The 6 feet is a symbol. It's symbolic. Sorry, that's used in rituals. Also, 6 feet is about the length of what the energy from a human body goes out from their heart. We actually are connected. Even we communicate more than what we can see. You stop that kind of communication. Isolation is one of the worst things you can do for psychological manipulation. That's why they do that to prisoners and prisoners of war, is to wear the person down. So and they put 666, the number 666 in everywhere, the Contact Tracing Act and the ingredients of the injections, all sorts of things. So people need to wake up. The war has begun, and you can't be sleeping while it's going on. We have to wake up.
Yeah, we have to wake up, we have to stand together, and we have to.
Takie płytki. No i zacząłem przybliżać, co to za płytki. No i tutaj widzimy, to jest dziura, bo to jest taśma grafitowo-bąbelkowa i to jest powierzchnia. Zauważyłem masę kryształków, tylko niektóre takie agresywne, że nawet ten grafit się powytapiał. Myślę, ale jest, coś znalazłem. Oczywiście przeprowadziłem pomiary. Jest to sól. Ten fluid był roztworem jakimś tam soli, czy coś fizjologiczne, czy coś takiego. Nic nie ma. Porażka drastyczna. Poleciałem dalszy, kolejny. Czyli na tej pierwszej monetce nic nie było, wszystko wyschło, nawet soli nie było widać. Czyli skład tego fluidu jest różny. Z drugiej próbki znalazłem masę kryształków. No i dalej tutaj widzimy, to węgiel od napylenia, ena, chlor, to zwykła sól kuchenna tak zwana, czyli fluid zawiera tylko roztwór soli fizjologiczny czy coś takiego. A ja szukałem coś ważnego. Jak zawsze muszę coś znaleźć. O, i znalazłem to. To, co znalazłem, to coś. Gdzieś mój tutaj czarny flamaster. Nie ma. To coś trzeba napisać grubymi, czarnymi literami. Badam dalej, robiłem pomiary, co to jest coś. Ma główkę i ma 3 nóżki. Porobiłem pomiar główki numer 1, 2, 3, 4. Wyniki. Jest glin i węgiel. Węgiel z napylenia. Węgiel z napylenia. Przepraszam, mam sprzęt. To coś. Osoby słabsze nerwowo mogą zostawić sobie. Nie, bez żartów. Tutaj kolejne badania. To jest glin, bor i węgiel. Czyli to coś ma te nóżki w różnych kolorach. Tutaj mamy wyniki pomiarów. To coś. To jest 1/10 tego. Jeżeli tutaj mamy 2 mm, ta główka, to te tasiemki mają 25 metrów. Jeżeli 2 mm, taka jak kulka, taka główka, to te tasiemki mają 25 metrów. Takie coś. Myślę, co to za istota. No i poleciałem dalej. To coś z takimi pozorami drastycznymi, które zabija ludzi. To coś, co w Matrixie pokazuje, które lata i ma macki i trzepie się do czegoś. Nie. To coś. To jest to coś. Tutaj macie zdjęcie. COVID-19 szczepionka. I tam towarzyszy. To jest to coś. W 3 próbkach zbadałem. Tak, szok? To coś podaje się w szczepionkach, tylko w jajach. Szukałem jaj. I powinno mieć poddatny grunt. Jeżeli trafia na gołe tło, na monetę, nic się nie dzieje i nie znalazłem nawet jaja. Bo może nie było w próbce, bo w niektórych próbkach mógł być roztwór fizjologiczny. Ale jak trafiło na taśmę grafitową, dlatego rozcieńczalnikami do szczepionek są grafen. Dają pożywkę dla jaj. I panowie i panie zaszczepieni możecie tracić przytomność, coś takiego w was się rozwinie. I to będzie miało 20 mikronów, a długość 2,5 mm macki. Mamy życie. I teraz musicie się zastanowić. Mało? Przypadek. Francowi się trafiło. W ślepej kurze też ziarenko się trafia. Pozaznaczałem, dostałem od ludzi, jak zwykle czasami dostaję przesyłki do zbadania, czy może pan to zbadać? Mogę. Zbadałem, pozaznaczałem. Próbka numer 1, 2, 3. Tylko w trzeciej było to coś. I na węglu. I to rosło 4 dni. Później jak się wkłada się do komory do napylania, tam temperatura wysoka, żeby grafit napylił się, to łuk elektryczny pali się i to zostało zabite. Tutaj partia, wszystko. Kolejna, jakby to było jedno, to tak. Kolejna, widzimy główka, 3 nóżki odchodzą. Tutaj mamy skalę 30 mikronów. Kolejna. To coś trafiło na poddatny grunt. I mamy to coś, uśmiecha się do nas. To coś, ta jest to główka, to macki. Tutaj kolejna macka i te macki kolorowe. I to jest glin i węgiel. Czy znamy życie glinowe? Znamy. Posiadamy go już. W większości z nas, tych dobrowolnych. Cieszę się, że zebraliście się tutaj i mogę to przedstawić. To coś. W ostatniej chwili nie mówiłem, co to jest. I to coś, kolejna próbka. To roślinka, pyłek, istotka podawana w jaju z poddatnym gruntem. Nie wiem, mieszkam na Prokocimiu w Krakowie, zapraszam. Gdzieś w pobliżu może być jakiś sygnał, który spowodował, że to coś zaczęło żyć. Tak jak ziarenka szyszek, dopóki nie stworzy się odpowiednich warunków, nie rusza się, to może być uśpione. A jak trafi na poddatne warunki? Kto chętny mieć coś takiego w sobie? Wy już dokonaliście wyboru. Większość z was już przyjęła to. Witam. Mam nadzieję, że to nie będzie uruchomione. To jest taka firma, która produkuje nam to uzdrowienie dla szczęścia i bogactwa. To jest z tej firmy. I teraz warto przeanalizować, dlaczego, czy ktoś dostaje taką dawkę, a ktoś dostaje inną dawkę. Ktoś dostaje sulfę fizjologiczną, ktoś dostaje cukier, a ktoś dostaje jajo. A to już nie dla mnie robota. Jestem poszukiwaczem i odkrywaczem prawdy, ale nie w tym świecie. Ten świat, zdajmy sobie sprawę, już jest prawie stracony. Popatrzcie się na statystyki. Ile
Simplemente hice esas anotaciones y esas son las que he documentado. Luego sobre eso han llovido, pues, gente que sí, yo lo he detectado, yo no sé. Luego salen ingenieros, no, eso es imposible, porque no cabe un dispositivo magnético por la aguja de la inyección. ¿Y cómo se generan 5 IPs diferentes de un mismo vial? O sea, 5 direcciones diferentes.
Ah, claro, es que esa
es una de las objeciones que yo hice.
Claro, claro. ¿Y eso qué explicación puede tener? ¿Le han dado a alguien, le ha dado una explicación a ese tema?
Sí, pero estos son ingenieros que además se dedican a la parte biológica. Es decir, yo lo que he visto es que los ingenieros que saben de telecomunicaciones lo ven aberrante, lo ven absurdo. ¿Por qué? Porque, hombre, un dispositivo que emita una señal MAC tiene que tener un generador, una pila, una antena, un no sé qué, y eso es imposible. Bueno, pues si es imposible, pues es imposible. Yo digo lo que he visto, yo no sé, pues dale una explicación. Pero hay ingenieros que se dedican más a la parte biológica y dicen no.
Bioingeniería.
Bioingeniería. Dicen no, y son los que me dieron alguna explicación sobre la generación de esa dirección, o sea, cómo de un solo vial que se pinchan 5 personas se generan 5 direcciones. Y esto va en la línea de que lo que puede venir en el vial es una hipótesis, esto no es una hipótesis, no es propiamente el IP, sino algo que al interaccionar con algo propio del individuo genera esa IP. O bien el DNA, que les parecía bastante poco plausible, porque el DNA está dentro del núcleo, pero sí con el complejo mayor de histocompatibilidad. Son unas proteínas que están en la superficie de las células, que derivan del genoma y que son propias de cada persona. Y a lo mejor es la hipótesis que están manejando estos investigadores. La llegada de ese producto vía sanguínea a las células es la que genera ese IP, es la que genera esa dirección. Hace falta una antena. Otro me dice, bueno, pues es que el músculo puede funcionar como una antena. Es que hace falta un generador. Bueno, las mitocondrias producen mucha energía. O sea, el ingeniero lo ve aberrante porque desde el punto de vista de un dispositivo eléctrico, de un semiconductor o de un microchip, no lo ve viable. Dice.
Look what I just figured out, Justine. Scan this arm.
Okay.
Now here's my vaccinated arm.
What? No. No.
Do it again.
What? No. Dude.
Now this one.
You gotta be... What?
I was not feeling so good on Thursday. I had to take the day off.
Does it hurt? Like, what is that really what they say it is? Like on TikTok?
Yeah, it didn't hurt, but I got a fever and chills and stuff like that. I wasn't feeling too good.
No way.
Yeah. and a little bit sore, but now it's good. Now it's good. It's last week. The only problem is that everywhere I go, everything is trying to connect to me, man. Like Bluetooth connectivity.
What do you mean?
I got Bluetooth connectivity. I get in the car, my car is trying to connect to me. I go home, or my computer is trying to connect. Like my phone is trying to connect. Like everything all the time.
How do you know they're trying to connect to you? Like
because I keep getting this bloody notification. Check this out. Everywhere I go, I keep getting this notification all the time. It's nuts.
You're with AstraZeneca? What the fuck?
yeah. So I keep saying cancel. No.
Hey, what happens if you connect to it?
I don't know, man. I didn't try it. I'm scared.
Hey, everyone is asking how you're doing.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's not me that they're asking about. It's you. Are you feeling okay? What about the connectivity? How is that
the
working?
connectivity is still there, man. I don't know how to turn it off.
Yeah?
Yeah. Check this out. See that TV over there?
Yeah?
Okay, if I walk up to it, it's gonna try and connect to me. Watch this.
That's a cow, man. Let me see.
There it is.
What?
Yeah. Everywhere I get the same message.
Is it just this TV?
Nope. I walk away, goes away.
Oh my god. And you don't feel any vibrations in your body? Nothing?
Nothing. All good.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Man in America. I'm your host, Seth Holhouse. So you've probably seen by now that they're talking about the new scary pandemic. You've got the whistleblowers that came out to Alex Jones, coming from the TSA and other government organizations, talking about how the Biden admin is really preparing for a new round of mandates and lockdowns and fear just in time for the 2024 election. Now, we know that the first pandemic was largely created through psychological operations, through manipulation of numbers, through, oh my goodness, the flu disappeared, yet we all of a sudden have all these COVID cases. But the concern is that this round 2 could be something far worse because it might relate to what was put into the vaccines. And so according to my guest today, attorney Todd Callender, one of my favorite guests to talk to, that's exactly what it is that the first round was just setting the stage for round 2, and all the vaccines actually have something contained within them that through the use of 5G, and he goes into the details of exactly how this works, that the next pandemic can actually be unleashed upon people. And so he's brought all kinds of documents and information we're going to be reviewing to show us that this isn't just some tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. It's something that you can find the patents, the government notes, the research that has been done in this already. It's already out there. So, folks, I hope you enjoy this interview with attorney Todd Callender. All right, folks, let's jump in to attorney Todd Callender. So, Todd, as usual, it's just great to have you back on the show.
Happy to be here. Lots to share with you today, Seth.
There always is. There always is. So, gosh, there's always about a 1,000 things we can talk about, but something that you've been discussing has really been making the waves. And I think it's a good place for us to start. And then we can kind of go into the ripples around this. And that is the Marburg pandemic, but specifically the use of 5G technology in combination with some aspects of the technology that was in the vaccines, and basically how that could be used to create a pandemic with these kind of 1-minute pulses, I think. I'll let you explain. So what it sounds like it's crazy and out of a science fiction novel, but so does most of my life right now. So I'll let you kind of walk us through what this is.
Well, that's good. I'm happy to do that. And thank you for the opportunity to do that. And I hope that you'll share what it is I'm sending to you with as many people as care to look at it. Don't make it up out of thin air. This actually comes from documents, from evidence. And, as a lawyer, I say things very carefully, and generally only things that I can prove with some level of certainty and evidence. And that's my obligation, to have some reasonable amount of certainty as to what it is I'm saying. And so as it relates to pandemics, as it relates to what it is we've been through, this one's kind of easy. This is a knockdown. I don't have to speculate whether or not Bill Gates next time is going to happen. Mr. Biden, small b, by the way, just said the other day, the next pandemic is coming. Because they are plandemics. How does one know that? I know it with absolute certainty because as I just sent to you, you will find in the Federal Register on December 9 of 2020, our Congress published through the Administrative Procedures Act on Wednesday, December 9, there, lo and behold, is a declaration of a Marburg pandemic. Here it is. It's right there, and it happened already. I think there's been 10 Marburg deaths over 40 years, so this is not what you would call a pandemic. But nonetheless, the Secretary of Health and Human Services saw fit to make such a declaration all the way back in 2020, after we were already in a coronavirus pandemic. So we had conjoining pandemics. They must have an expertise in Ebola. So yes, this is they're preparing for this to happen is the answer to the question. And what we had found some time ago, again in the course of our litigation, whistleblowers came from near and far, and we just had a lot of research that we were doing on all things that could potentially have some bearing, which included electronic warfare and EMF radiation that coincided with the biological things that we were seeing happening as well. And we'd found a a litany of papers. We're directed to a litany of papers that make reference to the use of 18 gigahertz signals in the 5G system to cause the swelling of lipid nanoparticles. So in the hydrogel, right, all of the shots that they used as the kill shots, I call them, right, for COVID, shared some commonalities. Those commonalities were the use of lipid nanoparticles to carry synthetic DNA and RNA to reprogram people's bodies. You think about these little lipid nanoparticles as little bombers. They're covered in fat. They were mainlined into people's veins, and then they were able to slip inside of the nucleus of a person's cell, deploy their payload, drop their payload, and that's what caused the genetic changes. Synthetic mRNA and synthetic DNA, adenovirus DNA, is what did this depending on the brand. So what we came to find at the same time was that these same lipid nanoparticles were filled with all kinds of different pathogens. It wasn't just 3 different HIV proteins. It wasn't just these spike proteins. It wasn't coronavirus. It was these strange chimeric diseases. When I say chimeric, part viral, part bacterial, Staphylococcus, Ebola, Marburg, E. coli. And these were patents and scientific papers talking about sticking these things inside of lipid nanoparticles for a later release. That later release, we found all the scientific papers that point to the use of an 18 gigahertz signal, which causes those lipid nanoparticles to swell. And when they swell, they release their contents. So effectively, I think Dr. Chambers called it a timed release or a remote release. He's a Green Beret medical doctor. This would allow a standoff that you could at some point remotely and distantly cause the release of Marburg or any other disease, because the patents were quite broad. It wasn't just Marburg, it wasn't just Ebola, Lassa, and other hemorrhagic fevers. It was a variety of pathogens.
Tromethamine. It's being secretly added to the Pfizer shots. And it turns out this information has been on the FDA website for over a week, and there has been zero coverage of the information until just the last few days. And even though InfoWars has its ear to the ground and our eyes to the horizon, I didn't learn about it until this afternoon. I've just done 4 hours of research, and this has blown me away at a level I could not even be blown away at before. Ladies and gentlemen, look at this headline. Pfizer secretly added heart attack drug to children's COVID vaccines. But why? They say instead of using saline solution as a buffer, which is what you put in basically almost every vaccine, they use it as a buffer, but it's not listed as a buffer. It's a very dangerous, very strong blood thinner. When I discovered this afternoon, I went around to the crew and I said, have you heard of this? They said, oh yeah, it came out a few days ago. And they had a whole file that Rob Dew, who's really our vaccine expert, other than all the medical doctors we have on, brought to me.
Hey guys, Rob Dew here. And so I just want to go over this back again. This is the InfoWars article. Pfizer secretly added heart attack drug to children's COVID vaccines, but why? This is by Ethan Huff out of Natural News. Now it links back to an article from the Expose UK. Why has Pfizer changed the formulation of its COVID vaccine for children to include ingredient that stabilizes people suffering a heart attack? And then if you scroll down into this article, so you got to do a little work, it goes to an FDA briefing document. Here it is right here. EUA amendment request for Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine for use in children 5 through 11 years old, dated October 26, 2021. So just before Halloween, they decided to sneak this through. Now, if you go down to page 14.
And this is the incredible part.
Yeah, this is it right here. So it talks about the vaccine formulation. To provide a vaccine with improved stability profile, the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine uses in children's 5 to 11, uses tromethamine buffer instead of phosphate buffered saline as used in previous formulation, and excludes sodium chloride and potassium chloride. So there it is.
But that's not a buffer. It's
not a buffer. It's a literal heart attack drug, and that's what they claim here. So you go to drugs.com.
So again, they're doing all this through changing definitions.
They're just exactly how they change the definition of what a vaccine is. But here it is. Tromethamine is used to prevent acid problems in the blood. That doesn't sound like a buffer. That doesn't sound like saline solution when you think of saline solution. Now you go through. This is interesting. Some people may have very bad and sometimes deadly side effects when taking a drug. So there it is right there, and then it lists the different side effects that can happen. But this is what caught my eye more than anything. Medicine may cause tissue damage if drug links from the vein. Now, why is that interesting? So and this is from my understanding of when nurses give these shots, they're supposed to give them into the muscle, not into the vein, because if it gets in the vein, that's why you're having problems with these blood clots and other heart problems and other blood disorders that people are going through. So, and this says here, there's a problem if it leaks from the vein. It's supposed to be given intravenously, which would be into the blood.
So they're mixing drugs that are contraindicated.
Exactly. And you can look at what the side effects are here. You know, allergic reaction, rash, hive, blistered, peeling skin, trouble breathing, hoarseness, swelling, low blood sugar, shortness of breath, fever. But then there's another little, you could go to more detail. Oh, and it has other ones, cardiovascular, chemical phlebitis, venospasms, cardiovascular. They say they're not frequently reported, but here they are. Excavation tissue damage.
And again, Rom, I want to continue with this, but here's the big issue. They're putting another drug with another drug and then burying it in a document.
And nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Nobody's talking about this. It's not, you have to go search through the 14.
But it shows they blew up, like Fauci said in 2019, we're going to blow the whole system up, do whatever you want.
That's true.
It's just mad scientists doing whatever they want.
And all they have to do is get a pandemic together, and then that gives them the excuse to do whatever they want and just change the rules.
And now they're putting very dangerous blood thinner in children.
Hepatocellular necrosis. That's the tissue damage that you're going to see happen when they give this vaccine to the kids right into their muscle, if they're giving it to them in their muscle. Now
And I remember about 2 years ago, possibly between 2 and 3 years ago, I asked the Lord, what is the mark of the beast? I remember I was going about my just daily things. I was putting away laundry, and I may have been listening to something or watching a video regarding the mark of the beast. And I know there are many different interpretations of it. I've even heard where some people think it might be like the barcode, the grocery barcode on the back of products, that little barcode. I've heard different interpretations. And so I prayed and I asked God, what is the mark of the beast? Like, if it's, if you desire to, Lord God, reveal it to me. Because I also know that the Bible says that the Antichrist will come to deceive people. And, possibly even Christians will fall away. And so I prayed and I asked God if he would reveal to me what the mark of the beast is. So I continued going about my day. And I believe it was later that night, possibly the next night, that I had a dream, and in this dream, I had just moved. In this dream, I knew that I was at a new house, and I was leaving somewhere. I remember I didn't really get a good picture of the house, but I knew it was a new house. And I remember as I was walking down the driveway, I could see the garage door behind me, and I knew I had to go somewhere, and I'm not sure where. I just knew that there was chaos going on in the streets and in the world. There was like unsettling chaos everywhere, things going on, and I was walking somewhere. I was headed somewhere to get away. And so also I want to say that ironically, my husband and I, our family, we moved out of California back in February of this year. And the neighborhood where I live now closely resembles the neighborhood in my dream of the new house we were living in my dream. And how I know this is that our neighborhood where we live now is situated next to a highway, and the streets are lined with trees. We are near the highway, and in this dream, when I left walking, I was headed to a highway, and there were trees. It very closely resembled where I actually live now. So Anyway, in this dream, I began walking. I don't remember after that, like the dream switched, but it was still part of the same dream. So then I was in my husband's truck and he was driving. And I remember I was looking out the window and from a distance, I could see a drone in the sky. And like kind of faintly, but I could see it was there. And then the more I looked, I began seeing more. I saw another drone and another drone, then I saw a few more, and there were many drones in the sky. And they were like kind of just everywhere, hovering over the freeways, and I could see they were just all over the sky. And I knew somehow that these drones represented war. Like there was a war going on, we were under attack. And I also, looking back, I believe that these drones represented like a form of surveillance. Like I just knew we were under some type of attack. So we continued to drive, and I asked my husband if he could stop at the store so I could return something or pick something up. And even though I knew we were under some type of attack, is kind of like what's going on in the world right now. There's chaos and things happening, but yet people are still going about their daily, things and going to the store and doing things like that. So it's kind of like that, very similar to that. There was chaos going on around us. The next thing I know, I was walking into the store, and this store was actually similar to Kohl's. I believe it was Kohl's department store, because it had the same feel and look. And I looked around, for a few minutes, and then I headed to the register to get in line. And so I got in line, and then I realized that it was a very long line. I waited in line for maybe a few minutes to possibly 15 minutes. But then I started to get a little impatient because my husband and the kids were in the car. And so, I tried glancing toward the front to see if I could see what was going on at the front of the line, but I couldn't see anything. So I decided that it wasn't worth the wait right now, and I thought I would just come back another time. And then so I put whatever items I had in my hand, I put them back on the display. And then I figured, that I wasn't going to go back out the same door that I came in. I was going to go through the other door so I can get a look at the front of the line to see what was taking this line so long. When I started walking towards the other door, I saw that the line wrapped around several departments and that there were many people in line. When I got to the front, I actually saw that the line went out the door, like it was just outside like the two doors, and I saw a woman standing there with her hand kind of like this, and there was a woman standing in front of her, and she was giving her chip. But I knew that these people were in line for a vaccine, and kind of in the same way that you would get a flu shot, you can get one at Target or Walgreens, CVS. So these people were in line to get a vaccine, but as I stood next to the lady, I could see the chip in her right hand. And I knew the Lord told me that in my dream that this was the mark of the beast. And so I was shocked and terrified, and I thought to myself, oh no, these people are being deceived. I need to tell them, I need to warn them, I need to stop this from happening. I need to tell people what this is. This is the mark of the beast. But these people were kind of casually and just innocently sort of getting this vaccine or chip in their hand. And then I told myself, I need to tell people what this really is. And then I needed to go find my husband and tell him as well. And then my dream just kind of ended. That was the end of my dream. I believe that just as, in my dream, this was readily available. It was at Kohl's where people were being chipped and vaccinated. I believe when this vaccine does roll out, it is going to be readily available, probably at your local grocery store or department store in the same way. 2 to 3 years ago, I had this dream, and I explained my dream to my husband. And I told him that God showed me that and told me that the mark of the beast was a vaccine. And I have pondered this off and on over the last, couple years that I've had this dream, and it made no sense to me. I didn't understand it at all. I couldn't understand how is a vaccine the mark of the beast. Like I said, it's been off and on in the back of my mind, and I can vividly remember the dream. What are they attempting to do with the COVID vaccination and ID 2020? I wholeheartedly believe that you should pray and ask the Lord. If you are questioning, seek Him. He will reveal all things to you and give you wisdom. Like I talked about at the beginning of this video, if you have a personal relationship with God, His Holy Spirit lives in you. Ask Him, talk to Him, and ask Him to reveal things to you, to reveal the truth to you, and that you may see clearly and understand. Right now, there are even many very influential pastors and Christians who don't believe that this COVID-19 chip or vaccine is the mark of the beast. But I also believe that as the time draws closer, God will begin revealing it to more and more Christians and people, and it will become evident to those who are close to the Lord and seeking Him of what this is. So, like I said, be in prayer and seeking Him during these times. Seek Him in all that you do, and He will make your path straight. He will guide you. Anyway, I hope this has ministered to you, and that you pray and seek God and draw closer to Him during these times. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.